Hello there everyone, welcome back to another Gate Ruler video. In this one I'm going to be talking through the second starter deck, which is going to be for the Abyss Summon and the Knight Ruler. So let's get started, but first, if you're interested in the Apprentice Ruler, or robots and Wonderverse and Yomajin, please check out my previous video on this very topic, which you can find in a card over there, or to the side or at the end of the video. It'll show up. Go on my channel, hit subscribe, like button, do all that. Like button, hit the like button. Anyway, let's get started. So, here's the list. Apologies for the weird graininess, it came out a bit funny, but we're going to talk through all of the cards in this, but I just wanted to put this up here and just so you're aware of how many of each you're getting, and just so I can complain that by far the biggest reason you're going to be needing two of this is Dokkulfar. Dokkulfar. I don't know how to pronounce that card. I live in England. So there's the list. Let's talk through the actual cards. Okay, so let's talk through this, but before I do, just quickly want to shout out Gate Realize for making these proxies. As you can see, they are very, very good. So, we'll start off with Vasaurus Rex. This is your big boy, your absolute massive legend boy. Not a legend, obviously, but he's sort of your win con for the starter decks. How many of these do I think you're going to be playing in the main one? Well, from the testing I've done so far, this card doesn't seem to be like a 4 of. It seems to be a 2 of, maybe 3 of, but that's sort of tenuous. You will have the copies because you will need 2 of these. But yeah, this card is definitely strong and a good inclusion in this starter deck. Being able to heal and pop anything is really good. However, you're going to find a major issue in this deck in terms of competitive viability is going to be found in your Abyss Summoners. So before I get any further, I should probably explain how Abyss Summoning works because there seems to be a remarkable amount of confusion about it. So let me read this. Abyss Summoning. Normal, so this means you use it during your main phase. Send this card to the cemetery. If you do, choose one unit from your cemetery with Abyss Concerto, and you may special summon it by fulfilling its condition. Let's go back to Vasaurus Rex. Abyss Concerto. Condition. Put 5 darkness cards from your cemetery on the bottom of your deck. So, you have Vasaurus Rex in your graveyard, and you have 4 additional darknesses. You normal summon Priest of Demonic Dragon. You activate the Abyssal Summoning, sending it to the drop zone. You then choose Vasaurus Rex to fulfill its Abyss Concerto condition, which is to put 5 darknesses back. Notice that Priest is a darkness card, so you can use him for the condition. Send those 5 to the bottom of the deck, and special summon Vasaurus Rex by doing so. You do not use any of your normal summons when you bring out Rex, although obviously you would if you normal summon Priest from your hand. If you're a bit confused about that, I will recommend you go and check out my How to Play Ruler video, where I go over each of the different rulers in a bit more detail, which will also be in a card, or should be somewhere on the page. There we go. So a big problem with this deck is the fact that all these things have 2 HP, and the top decks in the meta are going to remove that real quick. That's going to be a bit of an issue. However, I'm not here to talk necessarily so much about the competitive viability at the upper echelons of the meta, just talking about in terms of fun. It's a great mechanic, super fun to do, and very powerful when it's not getting disrupted 24/7. So this is obviously an important card for the strategy, though this will just be hard replaced by the main set Summoner. Death Cellia. This is definitely one of the better cards in this deck. It's a very cheap Abyss Concerto condition, and the Abyssal Summoning gives it Defender, which is really nice on a 5/5/2. It's beefy. It's a dragon, so if you choose to turn this into a slightly more mixed deck, where you're going to be including some Genesis Summoning, which can work and has worked reasonably well in my testing, but honestly, I'm not sure whether the combination is bad or the deck is bad or both, because I haven't had a great deal of success with Pure Darkness either. It's possible my list just sucks though. I will do more testing. But anyway, certainly I can confirm this card is very, very strong. Follower of Demonic Dragon. When this attacks, you can send the top card of your deck into the cemetery. This is a darkness as well. There are a lot of very valuable zeros you want to be playing. So finding the space for this is tough. There is a combination you will 100% want to be playing in the main set, which I will talk about when I do a full-on deck profile of this guy, but sort of needless to say by me mentioning that, though I will say it anyway, making the phrase needless to say redundant, you probably will not be playing this come the main set because you want to be running that old sort of combo. But this is not bad. It's a guaranteed mill, but every time you mill a counter, you will want to do things to yourself that are not very safe. Black Knight Geist, this is a 4/1/1. When this is put from the field or deck into the graveyard, you put top card deck into the graveyard. I would much rather use this card because getting destroyed is still going to proc this. Realistically, this is not staying on the field more than one turn anyway, and you're getting much better stats in exchange. You're also getting the Warrior trait, which will be relevant if you decide to splash in the Genesis package, so this is much better. Reha here is a 3/3/1. This is good because of the 3 HP, which can be a little frustrating for decks to deal with. One big removal deck, control deck, is going to be Crime Nauts. Again, I will talk about those more when I do videos specifically about them, but they frequently deal 2 damage. So here you're forcing them to sort of expend 2 of those things to remove this while you bide your time trying to remove their cards before you can safely perform your Abyss Summoning. Okay, next we have got Army of Darkness, and I realise this is sideways, and I apologise, but I'll tell you what it does. The counter is choose 1 unit with Abyssal Summoning in your cemetery and add to your hand, so this will salvage an Abyss Summoner. And when you play it at normal speed, you choose an Abyss Summoner from your damage and put it into your hand, so it's heal 1. This card is pretty good, but you're probably not going to be running it at more than 2, purely because of the expense. Here we've got another sideways card, Absolute Barrier. So the counter is to put this into your cemetery, and the actual effect is the damage from a battle when you are directly attacked becomes 0. So this is a very powerful card. You will probably be running 4 of this. This is a really, really nice inclusion. Next we've got Dark Djinn. This is an Owl Apparition Darkness, so the Owl trait can be relevant, probably won't be. Darkness obviously is. The counter is to special summon it, it's a 3/2/1. So a counter to special summon something is very powerful because obviously if you get it before any of your, as long as it isn't on your opponent's final attack, you're getting a defender, and even if it is on your opponent's final attack, you're having something you can attack with on the next turn. However, this thing's stats are pretty poor, and counter space is not that tight in Darkness, but it's certainly too tight to allow for something like this. I don't think this is particularly good. It is tough because it is a Darkness with counter, so obviously your Abyssal Summoning will be putting that at the bottom of the deck. That's sort of a big reason why you want to be running a Genesis package, because then you can shuffle your deck, which will put the counters potentially, which will certainly mean you're more likely to be hitting those counters you just at the bottom of your deck. However, I would rather be playing a different main set card than this, which is Hades, which I've mentioned sort of before. But anyway, pretty iffy on this card, not a massive fan. Nosferatu Army, this is an Owl Apparition Darkness. Being a level 1 Owl is relevant for main set support, reasonably relevant. Darkness is obviously relevant, and the Immortal condition is quite nice because you are going to be able to just bring this back. However, why? It's really not very good. It's a cool keyword, but the fact that it uses the fact that you have to pay for it and it uses a normal summon cap means that I just don't see a reason to ever go into this at the moment. I think future support could change this, so this will be probably a good card to own, but I'm not hot on this card at all. Here is your level 1 Abyssal Summoner, so this is inherently going to be stronger because it's level 1. The downside is you do have to already have your discard pile totally set up because it doesn't have the Darkness attribute itself, but that's worth it because it is 1. This means you can potentially do 2 Abyssal Summons in 1 turn if you get this and a 2, or of course 2 of this, which is good. That is going to it does increase the ceiling of your deck. This also means you can do more things than just drop an Abyssal Summoner and then have sort of awkward amount of energy left over at the end. 2 means you're going to be able to do a reasonable amount of stuff. So yeah, good card. I'm definitely going to be running at least 3 of this. Midas G Goldberg. This is my favorite card in the favorite card just because of his lore. He's great. Just loves the economy. Got to respect that. This is a really powerful effect on a very beefy boy. 3/4/1 is pretty scary in terms of defensive capabilities. You don't necessarily want to sleep on that, as will become very relevant with a card that's coming up soon. And when you Abyssal Summon with this on the field, you recover 1 life. That's a very powerful effect. How often does it go off? Not very often at all, which is sort of the shame. I think this is a really cool card, but in my testing, he's gone off so rarely that he's pretty much never been worth the deck space, which sucks, because I love him. Jack the Ripper, this card is a noob trap. I'm telling you, it sucks. And this next card, however, is absolutely not terrible. This is probably the best card in the starter deck. So, counts as 2 cards for an Abyssal Summoning, which is really strong. It can treat as any level from 0 to 3, which is also really strong, synergizing with the main set support on the second effect. It's a darkness, which is obviously very important. It's 4 defense, which means you can slap it in your defensive zone. That's going to be a little bit annoying and difficult to get over. And it's a level 0 owl, which means with Hades from the main set, you can just bring it back, or Whales from the main set, you can just bring it back. So this card is really good, and you only get 3, and you should be given 4 because this card's 4 off. Here's what it is. Really sad that we don't get 4, but oh well, what can you do? Next, there's Ironstorm. So this card is the counter is just to play it, and you choose one of your enemy choose one or more of your enemy units and distribute 2 damage from among them. This is a lot better in like a Wild Force deck, which is going to be buffing damage, and even then, I don't think it's very good. So yeah, not a great card here. Win-Win is your starter deck legend, and this is a very powerful card. So here you use this during normal timing, and you draw 1, and both players untap up to 2 energy. So, this is a weird one, because obviously on the surface you'd think, oh no, wait, that means that they're going to have energy to do stuff, and blah blah blah, and they're going to be able to interact with me. Let's be real here. 99% of the time, your opponent is not going to be setting cards they cannot immediately use, and that's because if they do, then there's a chance that you're just going to destroy them. And then what are they going to do if you just pop their cards, right? That's not good. So that means that it's very unlikely that this is ever actually going to have a negative effect on you when you play it in the Knight Mirror Match. Of course, you play against any other ruler right now, none of them use energy, so this is a straight win. It is, you might say, a win-win. Roll credits. Let's move on to the next one. Final card, yep, make a killing. So you set this and you use it when your opponent is damaged. That's any time they're damaged. So, you know, in theory, you could do this off a Haunting or something like that. But anyway, discard a Darkness from your hand and draw 2. This is, it's obviously good because it's setting up your drop zone, but it's restrictive because you get it before you can really, you play it after you can use any of the cards that turn, so it's setting up for the next turn. And it does require, obviously, a card in your hand, and it's not a plus, it's just a wash. But still, it is nice, it does set you up, it does help you filter, it is a good card. I don't think you would be running 4 of this in a Darkness deck, probably 3. Maybe you'd run 4, but it's definitely a card you would want to be running, so it's a good inclusion, obviously. You know, fundamentally it is a D-draw. And that's it. That is the deck. So my overall impressions, well, I do think this is weaker in terms of how many good cards it provides you than the Apprentice deck. However, I also think that the Apprentice deck is the foundation once you add in granted a significant number of cards from the main set to be one of, if not the top decks in the meta, whereas I think this is rather more high tier 2. So, you know, there is that, but in terms of fun, this is great. This is great fun to play. I've really enjoyed playing the Darkness deck. I highly recommend it. I think it is good. I think you will, you know, have a great time at locals. I wouldn't take this to, from my initial early testing, I wouldn't take this to a national event, but I would certainly take this to a locals and have a lot of fun with it. So I recommend you give it a go. If you enjoyed this video today, if you found it useful, please like the video, please sub to the channel. I will be posting a lot of game ruler videos, as I'm sure you can see from the back catalogue already. There will be more coming, lots of deck profiles and match videos and all that sort of stuff. Hopefully the English announcement is soon. It hasn't happened quite yet at the time of this recording, but it's inevitable. We know it's happening. And I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.